Attention, due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey Brian, man, it was so great to see you tonight. Civil Gore in the same location. Thanks for coming down and visiting.
Oh yeah, thanks for having us. I mean, yeah, it's always good to see you guys, and I'm glad the girls got to go out for a bit while we caught up. And oh yeah, and definitely please let Olivia know how amazing that dinner was.
Oh, sure thing. Speaking of which, we should probably clean up before they get back. I'm sure the last thing they're going to want to see when they get back is a sink full of dirty dishes. That's strange.
What is it?
Probably nothing. Drain seems to be clogged. I can get it. God, what's down there? What this is?
Need some help there, buddy?
No, I've got it.
Here, let me lend a hand. I insist. The least I could do after that meal.
Well, okay. Maybe if you could just stick your hand down the drain and see if there's something stuck down there.
Stick my hand down there?
Yeah, just stick your hand down there. You've got daintier wrists than me.
Well, maybe we can get like a flashlight and just look.
No need for that. Just stick your hand down there. It's probably like some strawberry jam or something.
Jam? That wouldn't clog a drain. Though I do see something pink down there.
Oh, you know what? It's my kids. They probably threw some of that slime down there. That slime stuff they make out of glue and food coloring. That's probably it. So if you could just reach down there and grab it, that would be great.
I'm not so sure about this. Why are you so eager for me to stick my hand down there?
I'm just weird about touching stuff, okay? It's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, here it goes.
You fool! Prepare to be consumed! I'm finally rid of you! Die in the maw under the blob!
Ow! Cut it out! Stop! You were right. It was just some silly putty. See? Silly putty. Here it is. Were you seriously trying to feed me to a blob?
No. Well, kinda. But hey, you know what? I heard they released some patch notes for the Friday the 13th game, so let's go look those up.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the real episode 47 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And I'm your host, Brian. And before we move on now, are you sure this is episode 47?
I'm definitely sure this is episode 47.
Because we can pause for a second and go and literally count them one by one if we should maybe try that. Then.
So, yeah, we had a bit of a snafu last week where, for some reason, I had named everything episode 47 when it was actually episode 46, and I didn't catch it. And then on top of that, Libsyn had a glitch and double posted, and it was a nightmare. It was such a simple mistake, and it just caused a lot of havoc. But sorry about that.
Yeah, and it was good.
It's fixed now.
Yeah, and thanks. Cody actually pointed that out for us. Thanks. Even though I know she loves our show so much, she probably listened to both episodes anyway. Like she thought we were giving her 2 episodes. So, but but yeah, no. So we did figure it out. So yeah, if you're listening to this now and you for some reason ahead of the other one, basically, yeah, just delete the first one that you got we fixed it on the second one. So
yeah, it's correctly named now. So it should be episode 46 was My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah, although this one we have so much content packed in there, we may be done with episode 49 by the time we're done with this one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, let's get right into it with our first chop. So, Brian, the Backlog project is back in full swing, and man, I had a really, really good week.
I think your Backlog project is maybe that's why you got so busy with that again. You forgot to count the episodes.
Maybe so, yeah. This one, and this is actually not everything I watched in the Backlog project because I actually had 2 commentaries on top of what you see here.
Oh my God.
Which we'll get into in a second. But why don't we just kind of alternate what we've seen, since you've got a few actually as well.
Yes.
And then we'll kind of go through this. But the first one I watched was one I had not seen since 2010, and that is The WOLFMAN, the 2010 remake. with Benicio del Toro.
Oh, I love that movie, actually.
Yeah, and you know what? I went back and looked at the Rotten Tomato reviews, and this thing got hammered by the critics. And I always liked it, even when I remember walking out of the theater and really liking it. And going back and watching it again, this is an awesome movie. I don't know why it got such hate when it came out.
Yeah, I don't either. The visuals were amazing. I remember I had it on Blu-ray, and that was like it was pretty. I think it was pretty soon after I had gotten. Did I have my new TV by then? I may have my new TV. I had just gotten it at that point, and so it was like I was all excited watching, Blu-rays and stuff. And I just remember being like, I just love the look of it and how cool it was, and it was just a really cool modernized version of the story we know so well. But and I remember it not doing well, and I don't know. And when I saw it, I said, why was this panned?
I don't know, because to me, this is what I wanted from the Universal remakes. I want a period piece with big budget sets and just kind of redoing the whole thing and updating it with like the modern gore and the modern effects and things, but keeping the same tone of the whole gothic feel of it. And instead, they went this kind of superhero route, which I hated. So I don't know why people don't like this. I mean, unless possibly just Universal horror fans like it and nobody else does.
Maybe, but I love this one too. I remember just, and it actually now you made me kind of want to go watch it again. So
yeah. And you saw one that I was really interested in seeing but haven't gotten out to the theater to see yet, and that is Winchester.
Yes, we saw Winchester. So here's the thing. I mean, I won't go into too many spoilers, of course, because I know you haven't seen it, and a lot of people may not have gotten a chance to see it. And I think it's already kind of on its way out of the theater. So here's the thing. Julie and I went and saw it. We were both eager to see it because we kind of had the history of, living out for a while. Julie lived much closer to the actual Winchester Mystery House than I did. But it was something it was a tourist attraction that I went to probably like once a year, I would say. It was always just a fun thing to go to, and do, go through the tours. If someone came into town, we'd take them there and stuff. But, so I always loved the story and the lore, and obviously for those who don't know, just a brief summary was that, this Sarah Winchester was the widow of, the Winchester gun empire, and she kind of she believed that these basically spirits would talk to her and told her that she has to keep building, basically, for the basically 24/7. She got to keep building, and if she stopped building, she was gonna die. And obviously, in the real life story, it's like she literally died a week later after she stopped building. She kind of ran out of money. The movie kind of goes off that storyline. There was a little bit of twist to it that I don't remember. Apparently, she had to you know what? I better not. I don't know if I should say it to kind of. I don't think it really spoils. It's just there's a little more of a twist to it where she kind of has to. What she's building is really recreations of rooms where the people were actually murdered by the Winchester rifle, which I never heard that little element to the story, or maybe I missed it. But obviously they couldn't just tell that story without some kind of twist to it. So the twist is that Jason Clarke, I guess he's this doctor that is hired by the board of the Winchester company now, which is actually trying to move away from rifles. I think that they have a little joke that they in the catalog. It's like he turns a page and sees like an ad for roller skates. So they're kind of going away from the rifle thing, and so but they want to probably kind of get rid of Sarah Winchester because they think she's loopy. So they send him in there to do a psych evaluation, and he spends the time there, and the story begins. So, but overall, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was definitely enjoyable. I see why people, though, maybe didn't take to it as well, because I think it doesn't know. It kind of mixed from a true ghost story to try and be but also go back to kind of like a true story, and it kind of like changed it. Like in the beginning, it's like a bunch of Tim jump scares, and then it kind of goes into it kind of forgets that element and goes into the rest of the story. So it's weird. I think it just has the pacing is off, and it has trouble deciding what kind of movie it wants to be. So, but I will say it was definitely enjoyable. Like it's not one of these movies where you're like, ugh. I can't wait till this ends. No, it was enjoyable, and it held my interest the whole time. It's just, it's basically, I'm trying to relate to see, I can kind of see why people didn't maybe take to it as much as,
right.
Maybe, they would, like like the Conjuring type of movie or something like that. So,
well, my dad went to see it, and he likes scary stuff. He loves Halloween and things like that, but he's not real big into horror movies, and I think it's because of the jump scares.
Yeah.
I think that's where I got it from. So he went to see this this weekend, and he said it scared the crap out of him.
Yeah, the beginning there's a lot of jump scares. Like it's a lot of Tim jump scares, and that's all I could think of is, okay, Tim would be scared there. Yep, that would get Tim. That would get Tim. But yeah, but definitely, it's definitely worth watching it. I mean, let's put it this way: there are far, far worse horror movies that have been, like, for some reason beloved than this one, and I don't know why, but it was okay. It was definitely just, run of the mill horror film, and I will say it's probably my love of the story helped me enjoy it a little bit. So if you don't know anything about the story, you may not be your cup of tea. To each his own, I guess.
Yeah, I may movie pass it or something if it's still out.
Yeah. I mean, if not, I'm sure it will be quickly to home release. So
yeah. So the Backlog project came up with another winner, and that was Child's Play 3. And I had not seen this one in forever. And this is the one, if you recall, that takes place at the military school.
Oh, right.
Which is kind of weird. The third part is always the weird entry.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what this one was.
At least they didn't go 3D, though, right?
Yeah, but it's actually pretty decent. It's actually really good. I like the whole end sequence that takes place in this, the world's biggest budget county fair haunted house, apparently, because it's like 3 stories high, but far bigger on the inside than what it could possibly be when they show it from the outside. But I like this one, and it kind of made me think, and we'll go over this more. I won't go into more detail because we're going to do Chucky in our summer slaycation, but this is one of those franchises that I honestly believe does not really have any bad movies. Because after this is Bride of Chucky. Oh, right. You've got Seed of Chucky. So you don't really have any, like, real clunkers in here.
No, and obviously, it just shows, it stands the test of time that they could release something recently, and then they were already in talk of a TV series, as we mentioned last week. So it's obviously he's kind of like one of those timeless characters, I think.
And then you've got a short you watched.
Yeah,
The Kiss.
yeah. I stumbled upon. I was just going through. Like last week, I basically was sitting there. It's funny. Julie goes, "What are you doing?" Because she saw me tapping my screen a lot, and I was basically just going through Amazon, the horror list, and just putting a bunch of stuff into my watch list. So it's kind of like maybe my little version of a backlog, I guess. So I was just scrolling through, and I'm like, you know what? I was tired, but I kind of want to see something, and then I just clicked on this, and it happened to be a short. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. I think it's like 11 minutes. So it's a nice short. It's basically a version, kind of like a weird version of Open Water in a little bit. It's basically about these two friends. I guess they're drunk, and they're riding home from somewhere on their bicycles, and they're heading towards this swimming area that she knows, which is just a weird looking pool thing. It almost looks like if they chopped a big concrete tower and made a pool into it. But anyway, so they're all drunk, and they're typical party girls, and they decide to go into the water. They jump in the water, and then as they're swimming and drinking, they realize that they're getting cold, so they want to get out, and they notice that the ladder is a little bit higher than they expected because I guess the water lowered. So that's basically the premise, is that they're kind of panicked and trapped and trying to find a way to reach the ladder, which they cannot reach. So, it was okay. I mean, it was a short. It worked as a short. I definitely don't think it could have been, if it was any longer than 11 minutes, I probably would have turned it off. But I mean, it was decent. You know what it is too? What I think caught my eye on it was that whenever I see those little like Sundance logos, or those outstanding so I caught that. So, and I guess it won best short or something. So I mean, it was definitely, I could see why it was good. It had some good visuals to it, which is pretty neat. And they had a lot of close-ups of the girl, when they would go be kind of submerged underwater, they'd go back underwater and struggle to keep afloat, and so there was a lot of cool visuals, I guess, and that's probably where it made its notice from. So I mean, for 11 minutes, it's definitely worth your time if you like the shorts like I do.
Cool. Well, I watched 2 movies from the Paul Naschy collection.
Naschy.
The roulette wheel was kind, and these I did not like as much as the first one. Oh. but they still have their charms. Let's put it that way. These were made in like I believe one was like in like 72, 73. Both of these were kind of around that same time period. So they kind of suffer from that. They both kind of suffer from that inappropriate disco music thing where, like, there's horror movies in the 70s where it's like, the guy's just murdered somebody, he's walking through the graveyard and it's going
Who thought that was a good idea,
I know. But so the first one was called Vengeance of the Zombies.
That sounds like one of our Kickstarters, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But Paul Naschy plays this Indian guru, I guess, who has the power to raise the dead. So he starts raising zombies all over town to commit murder on his behalf. And the zombies in this one are pretty funny. They're basically very low budget zombies. Like, it's just like the people with like the gray face paint on, kind of thing. But I have to say, there's something about these films that's oddly entertaining. Like, none of these are boring. Like, to me, I don't know why, but the storylines and everything, like, there's something compelling about them. I don't quite know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. And by the way, if they ever make a movie about Paul Naschy's life, Jack Black has to play him.
Oh, he's like that kind of. That's what he's like.
No question. He's got the same body type. He looks like Jack Black from a distance. So he'd be perfect.
See, maybe that's a first legitimate Kickstarter we could do. So we could come up with the Paul Naschy story.
and he, Jack Black's already done Nacho Libre, so he's already done the Spanish type.
Oh, right.
He could fake it. He could fake it.
What would it be called? Like too Paul, too Naschy? Like, capture the Fast and the Furious vibe?
Yeah. Naschy girls or something.
We star The Rock, get in.
The other one was called Blue Eyes of the Broken Doll. And this
like
one
a doll's
was...
eye.
Like a doll's eyes. This one was a little more interesting from a horror perspective because it was really a serial killer movie. Paul Naschy plays a former rapist. Can I say that?
Former rapist? Say that? So he's reformed now? He's no longer rapist?
He's a reformed rapist. Can you be a reformed rapist, or once you rape, you're pretty much a rapist?
You're always considered a rapist. You may not do it any longer, but I don't think you could be a former. It's not like it's not like he was a. He sang hit albums and decided to retire, and you could say, well, he was a former singer. So I don't
know. Okay, so he's a we'll call him a supposedly reformed rapist.
There you go.
And so he kind of basically walks into this town with nothing but the shirt on his back and tries to get a job, and he ends up getting this job at this farm, which is populated by this bunch of women. And
of course,
their previous employer or their previous farmhand guy they let go, and so now these women start showing up murdered, and of course Paul Naschy's character is the prime suspect, him being a former rapist and all. And so, but this killer basically gouges out the girl's eyes, and all of them have blue eyes, hence Blue Eyes of the Broken Doll.
Yeah, I don't know if I could watch that with the eyes.
They don't really show it. It's kind of implied, but it's actually this one I actually kind of really enjoyed, and the ending has a good payoff. To it. So, I'll tell you this box set is just fascinating to me.
I know I need to get
Spanish
this.
70s horror. It's so bizarre and weird, and I really.
And there's two, right? There's a second box set.
There is, and I'm definitely going to pick it up. I didn't want to pick up both because I didn't know how I would like this first one. And I was like, well, you know what? If I pick up the first one, these are terrible movies. I just won't get this. I'm all in on the second one now. Like, I'm absolutely.
Yeah, I'm hoping they just do at this point, just a full box set, like the whole Naschy set, like complete Naschy.
Any of these would be a great commentary track too, because it's all Spanish, so we could just make up our own dialogue.
Oh, that's awesome!
It'd be great.
Yeah, we have to try that.
Now, the next one on your list, Brian, is one that I really wanted to see and totally forgot about watching it when it came out on video.
Yeah,
and that is the BELKO Experiment.
Yeah, and I own it, but I still never had gotten to watch it. But it was so funny. Last night I was laying there, on the couch, and I was like, I'll probably just go to bed, and I flipped on cable and. Flipping through cable stations, and I saw it like about to start. I'm like, oh, damn damn it. I said, I'm like, I always want to watch this movie. It's on now. I said, I probably won't fall asleep anyway. So right at this point, so boom, I just started to watch it. So Julie was kind of like half paying attention to it, enough to watch along with me. But oh my God, this thing was crazy, this movie. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but I mean, you know the premise, right? Basically. Yeah. So, I mean, but I'm telling you, they do not hold back on the gore. It's great gore, great tension. It's definitely one of those movies that freaks you out because you're automatically like, gee, what the hell would I do in that situation? You know, it's like, and it's just, it was actually real, like, just, and it's, once it starts, this thing just goes off the deep end. It's like craziness on it, and it's got a lot of people in it that I didn't think it had like anyone known in the cast really. I don't think I ever realized it, but it's got Tony Goldwyn, it's got Michael Rooker, it's got John C. McGinley. So it's just like, it's got the guy Josh Brenner. You've probably seen him in the Internship, and I think he's in he was in that Silicon Valley. I think he's in one of there. Rusty Swimmer, of course, from she was in Jason Goes to Hell. So, and it's just it's like a surprising cast that I didn't know anyone I would know in it, but apparently I knew a bunch. But so it's just really good gore in it, and a good pacing to this movie, and it'll definitely like stick with you. So
cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna put that back on the list.
Yeah, I would. I think you'll really like it. Especially anyone that works in an office environment, you'll find yourself sitting there thinking like, wow, what the heck would I do in this situation?
The last one on my list was, of course, Christine, the Stephen King adaptation. And in my mind, it's one of the better Stephen King adaptations. I had not seen this one in many, many years, but I was very pleasantly surprised. It really still holds up really well. And when you talk about John Carpenter films, he obviously Halloween, right. The Thing, The Fog, all those get mentioned. But man, this movie is a worthy addition to his library of films he's done. I mean, it's definitely way on up there for me.
And it could be a future Steve Timber topic.
Yeah, it really needs to be. It really is that good a movie that I would be willing to do a full episode.
Well, I kind of remember we toyed with it last year. I think we ended up settling on Pet Sematary, but it was in the running at for that last Steve Timber one.
Yeah, Pet Sematary is still above this one on my Stephen King adaptation hierarchy.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
This one's on up there. I mean, I think sometimes people just don't think about it because it's not really one of. Even though it's a Stephen King classic in terms of his books, it's kind of like one of the lower tier classics. You always mention the other ones before this one.
Right, yeah.
but it's still really solid.
Yeah, no, I definitely think a future episode would be good for that one.
And we both got to see, this is not horror related, but we both got to see Black Panther this weekend.
Right. I still think, even though it's not horror, I know we veer off a little bit on there, and I think this movie is kind of got such a good importance right now to it that it's worth mentioning. And I know we both kind of, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It was one of those, it's probably, I have a weird first, but for my favorite out of all those Marvel ones, mine is the original Captain America. A lot of people think Winter Soldier is better. A lot of people have like the Iron Man ones, but the Captain America one was always my favorite. But this one is like, I think it's just under that for me. I mean, I'm actually going to see it again because Julie didn't get to see it with me. And I cannot wait to see it a second time. It was just so incredible, I thought, in every way that a movie of that kind of caliber needs to be.
Yeah, it had a really strong villain.
Oh my God, one of the better Marvel villains that was introduced in this whole this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe here.
Yeah, I totally agree. It had you had great visuals, you had a great just a great lessons, great characters, great performances, just everything about it clicked for me. I really couldn't tell you one thing that I didn't like about it, which is very rare for me. I mean, usually I could pick out one little nitpick here or there that I didn't like, but man, I love this movie from start to finish.
Yeah.
Like Marvel's firing on all cylinders between this and Guardians 2 and Thor Ragnarok. I mean, they've just been hit after hit after hit.
Yeah, no, and and of course our one of our favorites is Daniel Kaluuya is in there from Get Out. He's in there.
Yep.
But and it had like the perfect like kind of like humor elements in there that are like just when you need, it was like fit in perfectly. The Marvel movies, people say, oh, there's too much joke in it, there's too much this hit it perfectly. It was just when you need, there was a point that humor would fit, they put it in, and it was just
and it wasn't slapstick like Thor Ragnarok was very comedy centric.
Yeah, they went.
And Guardians 2 obviously is very heavy, but this one, even the moments of humor are delicate.
Right.
I thought.
Yeah, and it's like there's so many there's so many performances that you could literally say stole the movie. And it's rare. Usually you have one person that'll stand out and say, "Oh wow, they stole the movie." This one I could pick like 3 people that might have stolen the movie. Like the girl that played T'Challa's sister. I mean, not to mention even the main cast, alone. But then the one that played Okoye, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. She was amazing. I thought even who's like had a very he kind of played it very flat and straight. But Martin Freeman, I thought, was pretty hilarious in it. He was like he's been in the universe before, but he is. As the agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he's he's just funny in this one. I guess, I don't know, actually he's not part of S.H.I.E.L.D., he's just FBI in this, right? I think.
No, he was CIA,
yeah. And Andy Serkis was hilarious in this. He played who you
awesome,
thought was kind of going to be the big baddie in this at first. But Michael B. Jordan is obviously.
Oh, well, this is kind of horror-y, I guess. The girl that played his sister, Letitia Wright, was in an episode of Black Mirror.
Oh, right. That's right. Oh, so we got 2 Black Mirror vets in here.
Yeah, that's where I recognized her from. Because the minute I saw her on screen, I instantly recognized her, but that's who it was.
Now, you got some Star Wars vets in there with Lupita and Forrest Whitaker. So you just got a great, really great cast in there and just the visuals were stunning. I mean, but you can expect that with these movies, but if it's all that, the movie's gonna miss, but it didn't have that. It just and some of the action sequences were just great. I probably can't recommend it enough. It's that good.
Yeah, I agree totally. So you managed to scrounge up some Friday the 13th game.
Yeah,
this week.
What a surprise, right? Well, they keep offering it up, so I'm gonna keep sharing it. But this was a quick one. It's just that they're adding weapon swapping with the Jasons, which always I thought was kind of annoying that you could not do in the first place, since the regular characters can pick up weapons all the time, and Jason is shown using environmental kills and other things in around him to kill. This was, to me, a no-brainer. I'm surprised it wasn't in there, but now they've added it. So basically, any Jason you have now usually comes with a signature weapon. Like the Roy Jason comes with the shears. I think the Part 4 Jason, or Jason Goes to Hell comes with an axe, or whatever it is. But they basically, so now you can basically swap the weapons. So you can program your Jason of choice with a weapon of choice. And, you can already program the kills, which was the only logical thing to me. So this makes sense. So that's a cool little note there.
All right, and let's run through our Toy Fair coverage because they had some really cool horror collectibles.
Yeah, so I don't know if did you get a chance to look at some of these, Tim?
Yeah, I ran through them all.
Yeah, I mean, some of these are really amazing. There's a ton here. We'll try and go through it pretty quickly. So the first thing on McFarlane Toys, they always have a ton of great stuff. Their coolest thing was back in the day. I don't know if you remember that classic monster series they did, where he did a reinterpretation of some of the classic monsters in these great little play sets.
I had all of them.
So did I, and I don't know where they went.
Threw them away.
I didn't throw them away. I don't know where they went. They're probably somewhere in a box, in an awkward box somewhere in my. Well, I think I pretty much took everything over, but there's probably a couple boxes still left at my parents' house from back in the day that hopefully I'll discover these in some point, because these I loved. But anyway, of course he did the Jaws. He did a lot of cool stuff. But anyway, he's coming out with his Walking Dead figures for All Out War, which at first I said I didn't know what that was, but then I noticed I saw an ad in Entertainment Weekly. I guess that's the season. This next season is called Walking Dead All Out War.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's a few Negan characters. There's a Rick Grimes, a Daryl Dixon. All I know, because I'm a terrible horror fan, and none of these characters I know who they are, other than Negan. I know he's the Bat. He's the guy with the bat. Yeah. And there's a limited edition.
He's a vampire bat.
Yeah, there you go. And he's got a limited edition Allies 3-pack, which has Rick, Daryl, and is it Jesus, I can imagine? Or does he go by Jesus? I don't know, since I don't know the show. I apologize.
Oh, he goes by Jesus.
Okay, he is Jesus. Okay. See, I always get
Jesus.
that backwards.
He looks like Jesus too.
Anytime I see it's written there, I'll pronounce it Jesus when it's Jesus, and then when it's supposed to be Jesus, it's Jesus. I pronounce it. I can't win.
Yeah.
But and then the other thing McFarlane did was he's got they already had 2 Stranger Things figures out, which I don't know if you saw, were literally fantastic. They look like perfect replicas of Eleven and Hopper. But this year he's coming up. He's got a great edition of all 4 of the boys in their Ghostbusters attire. Which is pretty cool.
Have to get that.
Yeah, and there's a Punk 11 coming out, and then there's some regular versions of Will, Mike, Dustin, and Dustin comes with Dart, which is kind of cool. He comes with a little like box and darts in there, and he's got like that little fake mask he made up. So yeah, and those McFarlane does an amazing job of recreating the likenesses. So these all look fantastic. So I definitely think you should check them out. And then I know I kind of give you a big one here with NECA, so if you need me to tag in the middle because it's a long one.
Yeah, we'll try to go through this. Well, of course, NECA is one of my favorite toy brands because I've owned a couple of the Jasons, and I own the Evil Dead Ultimate Ash. So they're coming out with some Aliens versus Predator figures, an Aliens Series 13 with an alien variation. I don't know how you pronounce that. Apone?
No, Apone is the guy, one of the military guys. With the yellow shirt.
Oh.
Yeah, no, and they had
gotcha.
a bunch of alien variations with it.
Gotcha.
With it. But yeah, it was basically they did a bunch of expanded universe aliens from the 1990 series. Remember that Kenner did?
Yeah, because I remember they had like the gorilla
alien.
Yeah.
So that's what this series is highlighting, which I thought was really cool.
Nice. Then you have the Guillermo del Toro signature collection, a 7-inch Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth, which sounds cool. An American God 7-inch Laura Moon figure. It figures, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, and Ultimate Pennywise 2017 and 1990 versions. I've got to have both.
Yes.
Got to have
and
both.
Did you see those side by side? There was an image from Toy Fair with them both.
Yes.
Oh, is that not the coolest set to have on your
They look
shelf?
amazing. These come with displays, multiple heads and accessories like a lot of the NECA figures do.
Yeah.
There's some retro style 8-inch figures. There's a Freddy in tuxedo from Elm Street 3, his chef outfit from Elm Street 5. We got a Captain Blake from the Fog.
Look at that, digging that out from the Fog. That's
crazy. A Dr. Herbert West with Head from Reanimator.
I had to add that.
And then the Ash versus that was pretty funny. The Ash versus the Evil Dead series, Evil Dead 2, Ash versus Evil Dead 2-pack. And then Friday the 13th, we're getting a Part 2 Ultimate Jason Voorhees, and really cool, a Camp Crystal Lake accessories pack that has a sign and a dock.
Yeah,
which is really neat. Of course, I don't take mine out of package, so it doesn't do me much good.
I know.
It's still cool.
I may have to make a big set of this. I may have to just start buying them all one by one and getting this set and set up a nice display.
Because it just sounds so cool. And then they're making a Part 4 Jason quarter scale figure. And then another one that I might have to get is an Ultimate Gremlin.
Yeah, well, now that Joshua and loves Gremlins, you got to get him that.
Yeah, so I know that was a lot to run through really fast, but just to get that was they had a lot of good stuff coming.
Yeah, we'll put the link up because Steve Cohn had sent me a link off of, I forgot the site right now, but where I got all this thing, it has images of everything. So I'll set the link up. I'll get the link and we'll put it up in the rundown because this shows basically, this is where I got all this information from in one place. I was seeing it all weekend, in different Twitter accounts and different Instagrams, but this site kind of literally put it all in order. It was so great. Took me about an hour to go through last night, which was a lot better than if I would have had to go on 50 different sites. So thank you, that site, and thank you, Steve Cohn. But we'll give that site proper credit later. So then there's another one. This company I never heard of, Loyal Subject Action Vinyls, which are like these little figures, and they're coming out with a Predator line, a Ghostbusters line, which I know Tim is going to be all over, and a redo of the Masters of the Universe line. So they're kind of cool.
Which Kevin will be all over.
Yes, he'll be all over that one too.
He's a huge He-Man fan.
They're actually coming out with a whole nother. I didn't put that on the list because it really didn't blend on any of this stuff. But there's another whole, for that Masters of the Universe club thing they're doing. There's a whole re-release of all the classic figures that I'll send Kevin the link. Yeah, we'll send him that link.
Okay, and up next, I'm thinking these are probably pricey. Quantum Mechanics, 6 scale figures of Supernatural, Sam and Dean.
Yeah, if you look at those, these are almost like they almost look like professional movie sculptures that they made to When they make like the sets for storyboards or scenes to see what look that good.
Yeah, some of these companies are like almost photorealistic likenesses, which is really cool. And then they're coming out with a modern Pennywise with boat, which sounds really
he's got the little boat in his hand, which I thought was kind of neat. Then Kodabukaya, which I know that company from, it's stuff I could never really afford because it was really high-end Star Wars collectibles. But they started to go into horror a little bit, and they have some interesting choices here. First of all, they had a regular, just standard Freddy, which looks picture perfect. Like, it looks like they took Robert Englund in full costume and shrunk him down. That's how good it looks. And then they have something called, I hope I pronounce this right, Bishujo statues, which is really weird. It's like those like classic anime women, but they're dressed as the they're dressed as the horror characters. So they're like these sexy women with like kind of like worn tattered like Jason outfits and Freddy outfits, and like the girl that they have to play Jay, she has like the mask like kind of on the side, so you could see her face, but the mask is like hanging off the side of her head. And they have Jason, Freddy, Pinhead, Michael Myers, Leatherface, and Ash. So they got all the big ones in there, and they were all like these. So it's like weird. So just picture like those anime women statues that you see in comic book stores, but dressed as like your favorite horror slasher icon, which is kind of a cool mix. A little weird, but cool.
I think I can see that because last Halloween I saw a sexy Freddy Krueger outfit for women.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it looks like. Like the Jason one, I thought was cool because they managed to capture like this girl's wearing, like the short shorts, like from what I remember, and the like a little tight shirt, but with the Jason like tattered clothing around it, which is kind of funny. So yeah, those are interesting. And this is Tim's.
Yeah, next up is one of my favorites. That's Super 7. They do the reaction figures, which are the really retro, old school looking action figures. I do not yet have all of the monster ones and horror ones, but I really want to get all those.
Well, they came out with new ones this year. If you look, they have the classics, but some added ones.
Yeah. So they got all the Universal monsters: Frankenstein, Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, which I've got to have. Yeah. Phantom, Mole People, Metaluna Mutant, which is I've always loved the Metaluna Mutant. And then they're coming out with Planet of the Apes and Alien, and then glasses. I don't know what this was, but Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy, and Frankenstein glasses.
Yeah, the glass, like, remember like the old like Burger King glasses they used to sell for Star Wars? It's like that. It's like glasses, but with the images on it, like the drawn images of Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy, and Frankenstein. Yeah. So
I really need, these are inexpensive figures. I need to just go ahead and buy all of the horror related ones.
You know where I used to tend to see those a lot? Barnes and Noble. If you have a Barnes and Noble, they have that little toy section in the front, and I remember when I couldn't find I think it was one of the Goonies figures I could not find, and they had them all there, and they were like all like normal price, like $9.99. So that's probably your best bet. But we could also possibly on these, maybe if it's depending on the case assortment, we can probably go in together on like a case, and then probably save some money with like Entertainment Earth or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then so the Funko Pops, this one, the Funko, I mean, like literally, they must be up to the 5,000 different Funko Pops, right? What license don't they own? Right?
I know everything.
Everything. They even like there's a Bob Ross one coming out again, with like a furry sweater. I mean, it's like, they come out with everything, but some of the more notable ones I figured I'd put in there is obviously the It series, which Pennywise and all the kids, which of course is really cool. They're doing the Stranger Things, which is up to wave 5 already. And the big ones featuring in that is Punk 11. Now, this one's not horror, but I had to include this just because it's so cool. They're coming out with a Garbage Pail Kids line. Which,
I may have to get some of those. I loved Garbage Pail Kids.
Right? I mean, those were like, who didn't collect those cards? And that was a weird crossover because it was like it was stickers, right? They had stickers and cards, and back then, like the stickers were pretty much like you would say it was for the girls would collect the stickers, and the guys would collect the baseball cards or the Star Wars cards. But in this case, this was kind of had both, and you could find. I remember like people, you'd see boys and girls with them on their notebook, the stickers, and it was just like it was one of these things that blended. Huge. Yeah, it was and they even came with a movie that was not great, but still. And then they're also doing a line of figures, Funko figures, which is kind of different. And they're like they're doing one for the Ready Player One movie, of course, which looks cool. And then these I thought were cool. I sent this to Tim like right away because I'm like, these are just really neat. So it's called Funko Savage World. And it's basically, they almost look like they took all the different properties, but they made them to look exactly like the classic He-Man figures, with just all the muscles and the legs and the pretty basic looking figures with the, and they're doing a Thundercat series, but also they're doing a horror icon series. So they have a Jason, Freddy, Leatherface, Michael Myers, and Pinhead, all in like super buff. like if they hit the gym.
I'm gonna have to
like if The
those.
Rock
so
played
weird.
them all. That's what you basically
They're
get.
so strange.
But yeah, they still look kind of cool. And you know what it is I like about it? They're so unique, and it's something that like, you wouldn't think you'd ever really get, or someone would think to mash these two things up, but they did. So it was pretty cool. And the next thing, Tim, that you're going to talk about, I think has got to be, one of the coolest things coming out of Toy Fair.
Nice. Well, these are from Mezco Horror, and these are Jack-in-the-Boxes called Burst-a-Box. They're coming out with a Sam from Trick or Treat, a Jason, a Freddy, a Pennywise, a Chucky, and a Pinhead.
Sorry, we're Chucks. That meant obviously.
I
It
know
was
what
Chucky.
you're talking about. That sounds cool, like an actual horror.
Yeah, and they're little, and it's just a cool way to get like such a classic toy into the modern. It's like that, like horror is becoming so mainstream again that like you're literally getting like every toy possible now has horror line to it.
They got some small figures coming out. Jason Part 3 with removable mask. Jason Part 4, Reagan from The Exorcist. And Alex from Clockwork Orange, a Sam from Trick or Treat, Chucky and Tiffany, and Beetlejuice.
Again with the Chucks. Why does it keep autocorrecting to that? That's weird.
It's just Chucks.
Yeah,
Brian knows him so well. He just calls him Chucks.
But I got to tell you, I like that Sam from Trick or Treat is getting some play here.
Yeah, he is. I got to get a Krampus figure. That would be awesome.
Oh, yes.
Larger figures. We got a 12-inch Pinhead from Hellraiser 3 and Alex. And Flatsos. These are thin little stuffed mini plushies. They come up with all these crazy variations. They're gonna have a
Pennywise.
Pennywise.
Do you see these though? They're kind of cute. They're cool though.
A Freddy, two different Chuckies, a Tiffany, the Nun, Alex, and Annabelle. And where's that Alex? What's that?
From Clockwork Orange.
Oh, okay. I got
Sorry.
I was trying to think horror related.
Yeah.
And then we got a 7 and 18-inch King Kong Skull Island version.
Yeah, it's a weird line they're doing. I guess it's a 12-inch scale, a figure. I guess 12 inches, but they're calling it the 112 Collective. But they're just like really super detailed figures, is basically.
Okay, so they got a Jason Part 3, a Michael Myers, an Alex, an Ash, a Popeye, and the original Ghostbusters.
I had to include the Popeye because it looks so misplaced compared to the
random
with the other thing.
But man, the thing is, some of these are so expensive. But if I have to, I'll just get the ones that like. If I'm gonna have to get any horror figure, I'm gonna get Michael Myers.
Yeah,
because he's my favorite. If I get, if I have to get anything non-horror-y, it's going to be Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and they don't make that. It's funny that with Halloween, they don't make as they have he's in all the other things, but I don't remember them being too good of an. There was like one NECA figure, right, of Michael Myers, and that was it, or is it the McFarlane one where they had the Movie Maniacs line? I can't remember.
Yeah, the McFarlane had the Movie Maniacs because I used to have that one, and I'm just kicking myself. I got rid of those because I would kill to have that.
Yeah, and it was only one though. See, so Michael Myers, I'm glad he's getting some more figures now, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, this new movie is going to resurge it. I guarantee you, next year's Toy Fair, there's going to be Michael Myers everywhere.
Oh, right. And we didn't even mention it, but in the first shot, but we probably should. That Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis finished her role as Laurie Strode. She's finished filming already. So, and I supposedly it was a really short production anyway. I think it was like a 30-day shoot to do this thing. And coming out of it, they said it's terrifying. Everyone's been saying it's like it's dark. It captures the original feel. So I mean, they cannot make. I mean, they keep finding new ways to make this more appealing.
To hype it up, yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait.
The last thing I wanted to mention, that's it for the Toy Fair coverage, but the last thing I wanted to mention was a friend of the show, Jeff Tucker, who does the 91 Reasons podcast.
Yes.
His wife was in a little indie horror short on YouTube that you can go check out. And it's called WIHM9 Blood Drive. That's the Blood Drive. It's actually a fundraiser. They're doing these independent films for.
Oh, cool.
and it's called, so look up WIHM9 Blood Drive, The Red Death, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But it's got his wife Rachel in the she features in the little short film, so it's kind of cool. Check that out.
Oh, nice.
Just wanted to give it a shout out to a fellow podcaster.
Yeah, I'm always glad to help them out.
Absolutely. So let's get right into our dismemberment.
Wait, no, please, God, no, don't cut off my...
Okay, so these are the Blu-ray releases for February 27th, 2018. Up first is my pick of the week. This is the Arrow release of Basket Case from 1982. Directed by Frank Henenlotter, starring Kevin Van Hentenryck, Terry Susan Smith, and Beverly Bonner. And we just make fun of names here.
Sure it's not Beverly Boner.
Yeah. Well, the synopsis is a young man carrying a big basket that contains his extremely deformed Siamese twin brother seeks vengeance on the doctors who separated them against their will. This is a weird movie, but I had to put it as my pick of the week because it is a cult classic. It is a very good Arrow release. It's got a 4K restoration, a new commentary, new interviews, featurettes, and a collectible booklet. So I'm probably going to put this one on my wish list.
Now, I remember seeing this years ago. But I don't remember. It's like, so if he's a Siamese twin, is he actually? He's still not. He's not connected to him anymore, is he?
No, they were separated.
Right, so they're separated. That's right. Okay, and he's carrying around the basket. That's right.
Against their will. Yeah. After that, we've got one from 1977. This one is called Prey. This is a Vinegar Syndrome release.
Friends of Vinegar Syndrome.
Directed by Norman J. Warren, starring Barry Stokes, Sally Faulkner, and Glory Annan. Jessica awakens when an alien spacecraft lands nearby. After dispatching a young couple, the alien assumes the identity of the recently dispatched young man. Jessica and her possessive lover, Josephine, invite, quote-unquote, Anders in when it appears he's hurt. Soon, Jessica becomes suspicious of Josephine's overbearing ways and relies more on the alien for support, but his purpose on Earth remains unclear. That's a lot going on there.
I see, though, that it wasn't worth the 4K restoration. It only did a 2K.
No. This one got the half-ass 2K. 2K restoration, audio commentary, and interviews.
They ran out of the 4K fluid.
Yeah. Next up, we always got to have an AKA.
Yeah, always.
You always got to have
always.
One. So this one's The Sect, AKA The Devil's Dog.
In fact, we should do a movie just called AKA and leave it at that.
Yeah.
It'll be an anthology. Awesome. You just won't know what the hell it's
another
about.
Kickstarter. Yeah. Another Kickstarter.
There you go.
Put it on the list. This one's from 1991, released by Music Box Films.
I think that's a new one to the Discmemberment here family here.
Directed by Michelle Soavi, starring Kelly Curtis, Herbert Lom, and Mary Angela Giordano. A spree of grisly murders is perpetrated in Frankfurt by a group of Satan worshippers. A schoolteacher almost runs over an old man with a box and takes him in.
Wait, hold on, before you go back. So this schoolteacher was driving the box?
This is why you go to English class. People.
I know. No, I know. The commas are very important.
Commas are important. It's no accident. I see what you did there. It's no accident that the old man has come into her life, and it quickly becomes apparent that he has plans for her. Plans that involve a permanent future with the satanic cult. And it only has an interview. they found some guy off the street. Hey, guy, can you watch this movie and tell us what you thought?
I feel bad because this one was so off the radar that they didn't even give it a K restoration at all.
No,
just an interview.
It's a 0K.
Interview for a completely other film.
Oh, well, up next is Brian's pick of the week. And this would be my pick of the week, too, if not for Basket Case being such a cult classic. Right. But this one is called, we talked about it a while back when it was announced. Yeah. It's called 7852, Hitchcock's Shower Scene. It's from last year. It's released by Shout Factory, directed by Alexandre O'Philippe, starring Elizabeth Allen, Judith Anderson, and Desi Arnaz. An unprecedented look at the iconic shower scene in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, The Man Behind the Curtain, and the screen murder that profoundly changed the course of world cinema. So this is an entire documentary just about one scene.
But that's cool because it's arguably one of the most iconic scenes in horror history. So
yeah, I think this is a fascinating subject for a documentary.
Yeah, I can't wait. I love documentaries to begin with. especially horror ones, because they're usually really, like, I love like that the Elm Street one. I love the Friday the 13th one. There was a Michael Myers one, that Halloween 20 years later one thing that they did. I just love those things, and so but this one is like, this is I like the fact that they're focusing on just one particular scene, albeit an iconic one, but still, I like that it's just going to focus on this. When and the thing is, you've heard so much about this scene, and it's been in anyone that knows the movie knows about how many shots it took and all the different things, and how what did you actually see it with the quick cuts. So it'll be actually really interesting to see them to delve right into everything about it, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we talked about it before. That Universal attraction at Universal Studios used to have an entire show based around the shower scene. The next one up and last one on our list is Serpent's Lair from 1995, released by Code Red, directed by Jeffrey Reiner, starring Jeff Fahey, Lisa Barbuccia, and Heather Medway. Tom is seduced by a succubus, Lilith, who's out to drain him in more ways than one.
Is this Lilith
and
from
destroy
Frasier?
his marriage. Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, destroy his marriage. So this has got a remaster, but no K's on the end of it. It's just a remaster.
I mean, really, why watch it now with that long of a synopsis,
Yeah, so don't know much about that one. We do have a couple of limited theatrical releases this week. The first one up is The Cure, directed by David Frayne, starring Ellen Page, Peter Campion, and Sam Keeley. When I saw Ellen Page was starring it, kind of made me think of a PS4 title called The Last of Us, and the girl in it was based on Ellen Page. Nice. So when I saw she was in this zombie type movie, it just kind of was like, that's kind of
she's
cool.
Good anyway, whatever she does.
I really like her. A disease that turns people into zombies has been cured. The once infected zombies are discriminated against by society and their own families, which causes social issues to arise. This leads to militant government interference. I'll give it this. This is a new take on it.
Right. I was just going to say.
It's hard to do. So I will give this one the benefit of the doubt.
Right. And remember we said, it's like, how many ways can you do this already? Let's see. And, it's like, it kind of was teased a little bit, this kind of thing, and a little bit that kind of like, how like people are dealing with people, the real emotions of trying to deal with someone who, is turning into a zombie, and Maggie, with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
So this is kind of neat. It's like the one further where it's like now they're back, and how do they... I'm sure this is filled with messages, but I would definitely give this one a look, because you're right, like you said, it's like it's a different take on it. It's and which is almost impossible to do nowadays, especially in a horror tropes of the zombie films, which have pretty much done everything.
Now, this next one really sounds interesting to me. I like the setting. It's called The Lodgers, and it's directed by Brian O'Malley, starring Charlotte Vega, David Bradley, and Mo Dunford. It takes place in 1920 rural Ireland. Anglo-Irish twins Rachel and Edward share a strange existence in their crumbling family estate. Each night, the property becomes the domain of a sinister presence, the Lodgers, which enforce 3 rules upon the twins. They must be in bed by midnight. They may not permit an outsider past the threshold. And if one attempts to escape, the life of the other is placed in jeopardy.
Oh, wow. This is cool. It's kind of like Gremlins, but...
Yes, I was about to say, it's kind of like a Gremlins. When troubled war veteran Sean returns to the nearby village, he is immediately drawn to the mysterious Rachel, who in turn begins to break the rules set out by the Lodgers. The consequences pull Rachel into a deadly confrontation with her brother and with the curse that haunts.
I gotta say,
it sounds cool.
It really does. You're right. I mean, this is just, and the setting is probably, if they film this like really well, it's probably got a really cool visual look to it. It's like, I mean, like you and I tend to like those kind of older feels anyway to the movie like that. So that's gonna be pretty cool.
All right, well, let's get to our main feature this week, and that is The Blob from 1988, directed by Chuck Russell, starring Shawnee Smith, Kevin Dillon, and Donovan Leitch Jr. We'll go ahead and read the synopsis, but you know what it's about. A remake of the 1958 sci-fi horror classic about a deadly blob from another planet which consumes everything in its path. Teenagers attempt without success to warn the townspeople who refuse to take them seriously. Man, let me tell you, this was one of my favorite horror movies growing up. I saw it as soon as it came out on video, on VHS, and I remember thinking this was the goriest, most extreme horror movie I had ever seen in my life. Like, even at the time, you have to remember, this is in 1988. At the time, these effects were like top notch.
Oh, yeah.
Top notch. And they still hold up amazingly well, which we'll talk about later.
Right. There's some sequences like when they use the the green screen or whatever, where you can kind of see where they're superimposed against it. That part doesn't hold up well, but yes, the effects themselves. I mean, there are some massive things like the phone booth sequence where she's like, "Where's the sheriff?" and his face just appears in the blood.
Yeah, we'll have to go through all like these classic kills because this movie. Now, watching it again recently, it still holds up really, really well, and I think that's because it has sort of a timeless feel to it. They intentionally kind of set the movie in small town America. You still got the kids wearing the varsity jackets. You still got the corner diner. So it had a kind of a 50s, 60s feel anyway. So I think that's why it holds up so well. Now, the hair did not.
No.
They all had these, man, Kevin Dillon's hair. Yeah. Me and Olivia made fun of that for like 15 minutes while she was in here watching.
Yeah, speaking of Kevin Dillon, it's like, I know he's like, he became like, he was big in, was it Entourage, right? He did later on. And he had his own career and stuff. But in this movie, like when he was younger and like that, and it didn't kind of look like he was like a failed recreation of the original Matt Dillon, like they ran out of fluid to make another Matt Dillon and they came out with him.
It was like he was the defective clone.
Yeah, he was like that one. Like what was it, Austin Pet, where they like those movies where they try and make a clone and they run out, so it's like a half version of it comes out of the machine. That's what it reminded me of in this. I don't know. He just didn't look like he fit his
Poor
hair.
Guy.
The body didn't fit there.
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with his hair, but I don't know. It was like a mullet, but more.
Yeah, it was weird. Like they totally proportioned him incorrectly.
Like the wig was too big for his hair.
I thought that was actually the Blob at first when I was watching it.
But even the other haircuts were so 80s. Oh my god, the feathering was out of this world. I mean, the amount of hairspray, that had to be like a quarter of the budget.
Oh, easily. I like have craft service tables at movie sets. They probably had a hair service table.
Now, what was interesting when I went back and looked at this on IMDb was this movie had a pretty big budget at the time. I don't know what 1980s dollars are these days, but this thing had a $19 million budget. And it only made $8 million.
That hurts.
So it was a box office flop because it didn't even make its budget back, and almost half of the budget was used on the visual effects for this movie.
Yeah, a lot of jelly. They used
a lot of gelatin. Yeah. So yeah, when I went back to watch this one, I had expected good things. I had not seen it in many years, but I had expected good things because I remember how much I loved it as a kid. I still loved it, although I will say the first like 2/3 of the movie are by far the best.
Yeah.
Those first and second acts are incredible. I think it loses some steam by the end of by the third act.
Yeah, they seem to try and want to wrap it up really quickly, and it does a disservice to the maybe it could have been literally they were running out of money. They were way over budget.
Yeah, well, I mean, the big appeal of this film is the kills.
Right. Which should be, in a lot at that point. That's those it was still at this point where the kills in a horror movie were like what you went and saw. So it wasn't where it started to get to where people started demanding more psychological stuff from their horror films again.
Right. Yeah. It kind of reminded me like if you had made Friday the 13th, you had all these awesome kills, and then like for the last half hour they just chase Jason around in the woods and he doesn't kill anybody. That's what it kind of felt like to me. I know there were chase scenes, and there were, to be fair, there were some kills towards the end. Yeah, one notable one which we'll talk about, but yeah, for some reason I just started losing interest by that last half hour or so. I don't know why, but overall, man, incredible movie. We got to talk about the effects.
Yeah.
So the first kill we see is, of course, the old man who finds the blob. He gets a piece of it on his hand, and then we got the I can't remember his character's name, but the varsity dude.
I don't think he needed really a name. He was varsity dude. That's all you need.
Yeah. Kevin Dillon, and the girl take him to the hospital. Kevin Dillon splits because he's had enough of
Well,
this.
he also doesn't want to get blamed for any of it. He thinks they're going to blame him for like the accident.
He's the town hoodlum. So anyway, the guy, they get him settled into the hospital or whatever, and the guy happens to go check on him and sees like the guy's neck is pulsating or something, which is a really cool effect. So he runs and gets the doctor, comes back, they lift the sheet off, and this guy is basically split in half, guts going everywhere, acid eating away his flesh. It was awesome. And then not a few minutes after that, poor guy gets a blob dumped on his head.
Yeah, he gets...
which is...
And I was like... Because I forgot. I hadn't seen this in a while, so... like probably since it was on cable back in the day, and so like when I start watching it now, I was like, whoa, this guy's getting killed off already, huh? It's like I forgot who was the protagonist, who was like, who's the hero, who else was gonna be surviving in this. I completely forgot because I hadn't seen it in so long, so it was kind of cool that I I'm kind of glad because when you've seen a movie enough times, and then you watch it for the podcast, it's fun, because you look back on how you watch it, but when you haven't seen it in a while and it's kind of new at the same time, it's really cool. So I was kind of glad that I didn't remember much about it.
Yeah, no, my favorite scene in the whole movie, I remember this as a kid, probably because it was the only quote unquote sex scene, was the one where they're making out in the car, and unbeknownst to our smooth lover.
But look at his trunk. He had like a whole... Look at that guy. He even had a thing to mix drinks in there. He had the little like...
Yeah, Olivia was watching this part with me. I said, I told Olivia, I was like, you've got to watch this scene. It's my favorite scene of the whole movie. And he goes and lifts the trunk, and he's got a full bar with a mixer and everything. I was like, this guy's awesome. But they couldn't get away with stuff like that these days. Like the creepiness of the guys. Like when I'm watching these 80s movies, and they're like basically pre-raping these
my god,
women.
especially now. Can you imagine now, right now?
Oh my god, yeah, like you could never get away with that these days. But anyway, that's what this guy's pretty much doing. This girl is...
That's Erika Leniak, actually. That's another 80s classic mainstay.
Oh there. Yeah. He thinks she's passed out from the drinks, and so he's gonna take advantage of her. Which she starts unbuttoning her blouse and blah blah blah, and then there's this great sequence where she just turns around and
she like inverts almost, like her body inverts.
Yeah, it's like
outwards.
Her face, like it's so cool. It's just
it's like she stared at the Ark, the Covenant.
Yeah,
burst out. Yeah, that was really well done.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then of course the scene that Olivia could not watch, which is, of course, the famous drain scene.
Oh, yeah.
Where a guy literally, if you never believed a guy could fit down a drain hole, this movie shows you how it could be done. The blob is very acidic, apparently, so he can make things fit into tiny crevices.
Yes, he does it well.
But Olivia's got this fear of sticking her hand down any kind of hole or drain type thing, which I can understand.
Especially with what they have the garbage disposals in there.
Oh yeah, because we have a garbage disposal, and I'm like, stuff gets thrown down there, and sometimes you just got to go like, I'm sticking my hand down there, don't hit the switch.
Yeah.
And she's terrified of anything where somebody's hand could potentially get consumed in a garbage disposal.
I don't blame her on that one. I'm with her.
She could not even watch that scene. She couldn't even watch it.
Yeah, there was another movie. What was the other movie where they had that, where the guy's reaching in there for something, and like you see like was it a Final Destination? It was one of those, right? Was it?
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been.
That's like it goes on, and it's like
you think he's gonna get his arm chewed up. Yeah. Also, I was traumatized by the scene in The Goonies where they were about to put Chunk's hand in the blender.
Oh,
always traumatized me too, but. So lots of great kills up front.
Yeah, and then the phone booth one, it was one of my favorites. I loved that one.
The phone booth. The woman's looking for the sheriff, and he's melted on the side of the phone booth.
And it's funny too because they kind of they're hinting at that little like they're both lonely people and they're gonna find each other, and like I'm like, oh, that stinks. Right before it, she's gonna get killed, but then he's dead too, so I guess it works out.
Well, like you were saying, I think we were talking briefly before we started recording. This movie subverts some of the common horror movie tropes. Like, you have a kid die in this
one. And the fact that, like, the sheriff, who usually at least stays until, like, the end, you know? Like, I figured he was going to be fighting this thing to the very end, this guy. And he was going to do, like, a thing like, blob this or something and shoot the, you know, because I hadn't remembered it. But like, he gets killed pretty soon into the beginning of it all. So, you know, it's like, you know, they really, like, relies on, like, the not, you know, there's no cops involved really in it anymore. Well, there's that one cop, the guy from Fame, but he's still in there. But they, you know, it's like it's weird because, like, you know, you figure characters that you normally would survive a little bit longer in these movies end up dying pretty quick.
Right? Yeah. The kid scene really surprised me because I had not remembered that, and first I just in my mind I was thinking, you know, of course the kid gets away, and then when he did not. I was actually surprised.
Yeah, and he got it pretty bad too. And they went and showed him again, like all caught up in it, you know. And yeah, that was yeah. No, they don't hold back in this one.
It shouldn't be a surprise that this was a decently directed film because Chuck Russell was just coming off of Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Oh, one of everyone's favorites.
And he went on to actually do some non-horror stuff. He did The Mask. He did Eraser.
Oh. Okay.
I believe that was the Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, and he did the much maligned Scorpion King.
Oh, yeah, that one was great. He missed on that one.
Yeah, but he kind of got out of the horror scene after the Blob. But yeah, I don't know what else can you say about this one. Kevin Dillon is Kevin Dillon.
In 3/4 inch scale of Matt Dillon. You know what you want to say? Yeah.
Yeah.
To go back to their figures.
Yeah, I really did like the fact that they tried to keep this movie faithful to the original with the kind of 50s style.
Yeah. It had like the cheesy like the almost like a laser effects, you know, like that with the really bright colors of the surrounding when the thing crashed down in the beginning, you know. It kind of has that like glow with, you know, that cheesy 80s glow effect.
Yeah.
I don't know by the way to describe it, if there was an actual physical name for it. I don't know. I guess the equivalent to the 80s version of the blue lens flare now, you know? It's like
Yeah, exactly. There was some really bad green screen, to put it mildly, but I think there was some. It's been so long since I've seen the original Blob.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I know I've seen it. I just don't remember other than that iconic sequence of the movie theater. But
yeah, I feel like they basically recreated some scenes pretty close as an homage to that one because I just seem to remember some of those sequences, like the overhead shot where the people are running and the Blob's coming behind them.
Yeah,
I just seem to remember that from the original, but it's been a while, so I could be wrong, but. It would not surprise me if they put a lot of recreations of those classic scenes in
right, kind of like what we were discussing with My Bloody Valentine. They kind of went like they did a couple of like perfectly like great nods to the original, but
right,
that like totally ripping it off.
But the real main reason to see this movie is for the effects, which still hold up, and this is the 30th anniversary of this movie.
Oh, look at that! I'm surprised there's not a release of that then.
Yeah, well, there might be. It was released in August.
Oh, okay, so that could be coming.
Maybe closer to the summer where we'll get an announcement or something.
Maybe Shout Factory 4K release.
Oh, man, I would be all over it because this still is one of my favorite 80s horror films. And the main reason to watch it, though, are these effects, which still hold up today. Now, in my mind, I would love to see a remake of this movie.
Well, they teased a sequel, remember, at the end. I had a feeling they probably would have continued the storyline with the tease at the end, if it probably did a little better. I mean, but the fact that it lost half its budget, it didn't make back half its budget. I mean, that's not great.
I just would love to see this one done with today's effects, where you get rid of all the crappy green screen. Now, of course, the Blob would be all CGI this time, I'm sure. But if you could somehow mix like the faraway shots with CGI, realistic looking CGI, and then do the close up shots practical again, like this one did, that would be amazing.
Yeah, and maybe they'll get like the modern Kevin Dillon, who's grown more into his hair, come in there.
Yeah, at least do a cameo.
Yeah, right. That would be cool, right?
I don't know. I was thinking Blob to Rush.
Blob to Rush? Oh, God. Yeah, can you imagine?
I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. I was just thinking.
Well, that's okay. It's better than the joke I was going to say. Is maybe they'll just make a more literary version of it where it's all about our dismemberment synopsis and call it the blurbs. But, yeah, I think yours was better.
Oh, we're stretching.
Yeah.
No pun intended, because Blob stretch.
And think about it, with the toys. I mean, you could literally just rehash the Nickelodeon slime and make, real Blob toys.
Yeah, just get some of that slime stuff, like I alluded to in the sketch my kids make all the time. Anna actually made some that looks like the Blob. It was it had kind of this pink translucent stuff to it. I was actually downstairs looking for it because I was going to drape some over my desk and put an Instagram photo of getting ready to record the podcast, but I couldn't find it. She must have thrown it out. That stuff is cool. The kids know how to make all kinds of cool stuff these days.
Maybe they could make a new Kevin Dillon. Poor Kevin Dillon.
Poor Kevin Dillon. He's going to be the new Richard Dreyfuss.
Well, since we're kind of a little annoyed with Richard Dreyfuss right now.
Yeah, his on again, off again relationship.
Yeah, so he just he until we get reparations for what he's done to us. Well,
But I'll tell you what, the more I read about Monster Mania, a lot of the ones that I really want to see were just doing the pro photo ops.
Oh, okay.
And not the table signings and stuff. So I'm like, maybe it's for the best.
Well, I mean, I did hear my friend Abby does say, she goes, they on a Friday night, a lot of times they'll hang out in the lobby. So you do get some time with them. And he said even though then they're not doing table signings, they still sometimes are still around. So you can still interact with them a little bit. But see, I'm kind of torn now because I don't know. I kind of still want to go at least one of the days, but how can I go up to Richard Dreyfuss if you're not there? That's the whole point. It's gotta.
I don't know. You might have to though. If you could, anything would be better than nothing.
It is, but I'm gonna need someone to just he can't catch both of us, but he might be able to catch me. He's
if somebody has a distraction, lure him away.
Maybe Seth. I'll use Seth as a distraction.
Yeah. All right, so we had a very literal beer pairing this week,
and it's literally called The Blob. It's by Sly Fox Brewing in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And so this is literally named right after the movie because the description is, it's an Imperial Red. Surprise, right?
Of course.
8%. It's a full-body red ale brewed with an abundance of malt and copious amounts of 3 different domestic hops to mark Phoenixville's celebration of the science fiction classic of the same name. So it's not a one-time brew. It's under their rare or occasional releases. So I would think that's once, maybe twice a year. It seems like they must have a celebration every year for the movie. Wherever Phoenixville is, I assume that's in Pennsylvania. So I guess this brewery, Sly Fox Brewing, does a release every year in honor of this. So that's kind of cool.
That's
better, cool. I guess it went better than their Kevin Dillon lager that they tried the year before. Come on, we had some time left. We got to get him in one more time. But,
yeah, I tried that. It was good, but it was just off a little bit. I don't know what it was.
I felt like it was a little,
slightly off.
A little hairy. I don't know. But,
oh my gosh, we're gonna be sued.
Yeah.
So for our 6 degrees of decapitation, last week we tried to get from the original My Bloody Valentine to the remake of My Bloody Valentine. Cody got it in 3. Yeah. Brian got it originally in 4. I think he got it down to 3.
Yeah, because the one I put here was definitely in 3. So I think. I think what I did is I might have added. I think I wrote it wrong, so it looked like it was more an extra step really than it. Okay. I think because that's what I did. I think I started original and then I did stars as number 2, Alf Humphreys. So yeah.
Yeah, and just as a clarification, there's always going to be multiple solutions to these things. The whole goal is just to get it in 6 or less. Right. So if you can do it in 6 or less, you win.
And we kind of realized it's because Tim has a site basically that does it, that can figure it out for you. But so what we we changed up this week is we're basically going to give you the starting movie and the starting actor. So you kind of at least have that's where we're going to so that way it'll at least give you a specific little challenge to it.
Yeah, so the answer to last week's was the original My Bloody Valentine starred Alf Humphreys.
No relation to Alf from Melmac.
No. Alf!
Yeah. Go, Alf!
Alf.
Yeah.
Alf Humphrey starred in an episode of Supernatural, season 1, episode 7, Hookman. And Supernatural, of course, stars Jensen Ackles, who was in the My Bloody Valentine remake. So there you go. 3 steps.
Yeah, that was a pretty easy one.
This week, we're going to go backwards and go from the Blob 1988 back to the original Blob 1958. And we're going to start with Shawnee Smith.
Yeah, so the 80s mainstay, Shawnee Smith, who looked actually, this is probably one of the movies she looked the best in, I have to say.
I remember having a pretty big crush on her.
Yeah, I think every male did, and well, maybe females too. I'm just saying, everyone who that like pretty much she was a big like crush icon back in the 80s there.
Yep, and then we're gonna also give you a starting actor.
Yes, we're gonna give you both. This too.
Yeah, so you got to do this twice. Jack Nance.
The funny thing is, they converge at one odd point and continue the same path.
Yeah, they do. That's right, they do.
Which is pretty funny.
So, yeah, this one's kind of interesting. So, yeah, there is. Actually, they converge in 2 odd points.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at this right, yeah. So, yeah, so if you can figure out how to get Shawnee Smith and Jack Nance from the Blob 1988 all the way back to the Blob 1958, connect them through fellow actors.
Yeah.
See what you can do with that. Before we wrap up, I would like to remind you to visit us on Facebook, on Twitter at CivilGorePod, and Instagram, and Gmail, civilgorepodcast@gmail.com. Send us some feedback. Leave us a ratings on iTunes. Tell us what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. We're looking for ideas for season 2. We're kind of winging it right now.
Yes, and
we got some mainstays.
Yeah, and we're slowly approaching I should say not slowly, quickly approaching our 50th episode, which is going to be a special bonanza. Who knows who will show up for that?
Oh, yeah, we might have some special guest stars for that one. And not all of them impressions.
No, they actually may be real people.
Real people. The 50th is going to be a movie very near and dear to my heart, and we'll probably that'll probably be a very big episode.
Yeah.
Because that movie deserves extra special attention. So
yes, well, it's long
definitely
too.
Look forward to that one. Yeah, there you go. There's your hint. Anybody that knows me knows exactly which movie we're talking about, though.
So
now for next week, we're going to start our month on Irish horror filmmakers.
Right.
So I don't know which film we're going to do yet. I have to go look through them, but these will probably be a lot of fun because I have not seen a lot of these, as you might imagine. It's kind of a niche category that we're tackling this month.
Actually, is that new one we picked? Is that from an Irish filmmaker? I know it takes place in Ireland.
It is. It is. I believe it is.
We might have to go out. So we may have to do a Civil Gore first and kind of run out there and see a full release film. Of a film. That didn't sound good. Theatrical release film.
Yeah, I hope so because I hope it's showing around here because I really would like to see that one.
And maybe I could see that. It said limited release. Sometimes those limited releases are also available on pay-per-view at the same time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we could we could get lucky there with that one. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. That'd be a good pick for that month. Okay, guys, so it's been fun and we'll see you back here next week.
Yes, and remember, stay away from any kind of pink hair gel.